Good morning. Well, it's morning for me here. I am in California. It's 8 a.m., but I just want to welcome you back. It may not be morning where you're at, but I want to welcome you back to the Finding God in the Busy series, where we are listening to inspirational speakers, bloggers, CEOs, all different kinds of people, and how they find God in the middle of their busy seasons, in the middle of the hurricanes, as we're going to hear from Jami Amerine. Did I say your name right?
You did.
Oh, perfect. Good. I'm so glad. And we are just going to be finding God today and how we can search him and find him in the busy seasons, or rather him finding us in those crazy seasons in our life. So Jami just told me about moving to Houston in the middle of Hurricane Harvey right before her book was going to launch. So I imagine she has some awesome things to say about how to find God in crazy seasons. So here we go. She is a wife, a mom, an artist, an entrepreneur. Her first book, called Stolen Jesus, just came out October 2017, so brand new. And she runs a blog called Sacred Ground, Sticky Floors. Is that just very humorous? So Jami, tell us a little bit about how you found God in the middle of the hurricane.
Middle of the hurricane. I actually, I find him constantly. I think it's, I think that we think we have to make him happen all the time. So I say on my blog all the time, let Jesus be Jesus. Let him just expose himself and instead of trying to make him, be this thing. And it's so much more peaceful. It's so much more joyful to let him expose instead of trying to make the circumstances that your neighbor's having, or somebody at church is having, or a friend is having, make those exactly, try and recreate those instead of letting him just be. And I'm actually fascinated by the process, just because that's how I lived my life. I mean, I lived my life like, until I was actually writing my book, I did not know the glory of him, because I was so loud and I was so determined to make it look like everybody else's relationship. And so it was a religiosity instead of a relationship. And once I submitted to that, which is kind of I think it's an ongoing process, but it's much more easy and peaceful. It makes my cheeks hurt. I laugh all the time because my cheeks ache. I had to go get a new retainer and my dentist said, your jaw's so tight. And I was like, I know, I can't quit smiling. and even when we did move here from our longtime home in Abilene, my husband's only home in Abilene, and we moved here the week of Harvey. So we had to evacuate and then remove, and which was very traumatic for our younger children and my husband, who wanted it to be over with. But my husband walked into the hotel room one day and he goes, why are you smiling? I mean, it's so stressful. Why are you smiling? And I was just like, I'm happy. I'm at peace. I'm okay. And I don't think it was anything I did it. I think it was just finally just letting go and letting Jesus be Jesus.
Yeah. So when you wrote about Stolen Jesus, I'm just so intrigued. That's such an awesome title. What is that about? What's your book about?
Well, I literally stole Jesus. So that's easily exposed in the first 3 chapters. And I was working at a nonprofit organization that had a picture of Jesus in the foyer when you walked in. It's Solomon's Head of Christ. And that was actually my first image of Jesus, because I was actually originally Mormon in the Mormon church. Mm-hmm. My mom and dad are from Utah. My mom was Mormon and my dad was anti-Mormon, and which is kind of common in Utah. You're either one or the other. And that was the Mormon Jesus that you always saw, is when you walked in, there was Solomon's Head of Christ. So very popular portrait of him, not probably accurate, kind of rock star mullet and blue eyes, but yeah. So when I taught aerobics at this place, this picture was there, and I always thought that was kind of cool because I always identified with him. So I'd walk in, good morning, Jesus, and then I went and taught the spin class, and when I came out, he was gone after I'd been there.
Oh, okay. Literally stolen.
Well, he was actually replaced with a dry erase board. So I said to the reception, hey, where the heck is Jesus? And she said, he's behind the filing cabinet. And I was like, oh yeah. So I stole him. And then, so add to my Mormon roots, we have Catholic roots. So, and all the Jesuses have names. You know, there's the baby Jesus, the resurrected Jesus, the body of Jesus, Marian Jesus, and now stolen Jesus.
Oh, Jesus.
So so that was actually a chapter in my first manuscript. And my agent just kept saying, you always refer to these Jesuses, Target Jesus, Catholic Jesus, all these different Jesuses. She said, have you ever thought that Stolen Jesus was an entire book? And I was like, well, no, because it's just the story of me. I mean, how do you make that into a book? Play by play. And she was like, I really think you ought to pray about it. And I mean to tell you, flowed from me every misconception, every lie, every fantasy, every religion, everything that I had put on the Son of Man that had been stolen from me, or that I had stolen from myself in defining his true character. So I came to the arc of the book, which was Americanized Jesus, and I called my sister and I just said, I don't know where to go from here. It was so good. It was so powerful. It was so moving. And the whole time I had this little Post-it note on my computer that said, set captives free. And I'm still captive. How do I tie this up? Do you study more? Do you go to more church? What do you do to make him not be stolen? And she said, I really think you need to come over to my house. I just listened to an audio sermon on the message of grace. Have you ever heard the message of grace? And I was like, well, grace. And she's like, no, the message of grace. She said, you need to come over and listen to this, Jami. I think I'm free. And so I came over and listened to it. And 72 hours later, I finished the book, and I've walked in freedom ever since. I came face to face with the real Jesus. I had no idea what I was missing. I had no idea what was in store. And I am so undone by it because I was the captive. The set captives free was referring to me. So it was such freedom and such joy that that's how it happened. And I turned the book in, and a week later got it back with very minimum edits. My agent was like, that never happens to first-time authors. And
that's great. That is so great.
Crazy. It was crazy. Yeah.
Isn't that true though? How sometimes when we're speaking or we're writing and we think the message is for everyone else, and God is saying, oh, no, honey. No.
Yeah.
Sweet girl. Get the message in there, you know, and it becomes living, breathing, active, what God's doing in our lives.
Yeah. So it was cool. And I mean, I guess I should interject as far as messages go. I didn't own a computer when this madness started. So it was in March of 2015. I had borrowed my husband's computer and knocked out 60,000 words in 9 days. Just bleh.
Wow.
Yeah. And so my parents sent me to a Christian Writers Conference in California at the Mount Hermon Christian Writers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Went there and asked them to publish it, and they were like, no, don't know who you are. You have to have a platform. And I didn't have any interest in that.
Okay.
So, I was a foster mom and had, all these kids, and I just thought, I'm not tracing that rainbow. So I had an agent, the same agent I have now, that encouraged me just to try and blog a little bit. So, and some authors that actually forcibly made me blog. So I put up like 9 posts, I think, from March to August. I had 69 average readers. And then in September, so famous, So in September of 2015, I put up a blog post from my phone, an open letter to my children, you're not that great. And I had 690,000 readers by the end of September, and over 1 million by the end of October, and an agent and a 2-book deal before March of 2016.
Wow.
So that book was a book of law and bondage. So I look back on that too and just see God's hand in that. Like, yeah, here we go. This is the ride. Not a ride that I was even chasing after or interested in, just one he took me on. So
he does that.
He does. And it's been incredible. There's, times where you think you want your book. Of course, if I always say, if you speak it, you want somebody to hear it. If you bake it, you want somebody to taste it. If you write it, you want somebody to read it.
Right.
We
want to be connected.
Yeah, I was set free. And so I try and remember that if nothing else, I was set free. And, even if it's small numbers or big numbers, whatever.
Yeah. Whether it's 69 people or 1 million people,
Yeah. Yeah.
People free.
Yeah.
How do you stay grounded and connected when you're super busy? Like in those busy seasons, how do you stay connected to God? How do you stay connected to yourself?
How do I stay connected to myself? Well, I have my hair as a constant reminder that I'm here.
Right.
Yeah.
What is with hair and women? Oh God.
I don't know, but it's always there. So, or not. And then there's that issue too. So I've gone through that season too with thyroid disease where it was falling out in clumps and it was all consuming. But, I don't try and pretend that, like I'm anything I'm not. So, which I think is, I've become more of an introvert since this all happened. I think just kind of in a protect myself kind of sense. I've had a few people that have come forward and asked me that and then clung to me and then tried to sell me, vitamins or something. And then I've had a few people that have walked alongside me that literally just are there to embrace and love on me. And several blogger friends that I wouldn't have known for this. And I think it's important to be honest. And if you're not honest or you're putting on airs or something, you're going to get exposed. Yes. So I think the best way to be grounded, especially when people are watching, is to be honest. Yeah. It doesn't do anybody any favors for me to speak and act like, I was up at 4 this morning and reading my Bible and, walking this beautiful walk. I set my alarm for 5 and I put in my headphones and I listened to, while I try to wake up, just, some Christian music. And then I remember one thought was, I should get up now and do Zumba before our 2 young sons get up and I have to take our teenager to school. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And then the next thing I remember was Sophie right in my face going, "We're going to be late." And I was like,
Mom, get up.
Yeah.
I hate being late.
Yeah. But I think too, that the most grounding thing that ever happened to me was realizing that I wasn't in trouble for those incidences. I use this as a really poignant example in my life when I thought I had to, because for an if then Jesus, if I do this, then he'll do this. If I get up at 5 a.m. and read my Bible and write down these scriptures and highlight everything, then he'll do this. And then when he didn't, because,
doesn't do that.
Yeah, the microwave was broken or the car wouldn't start or any of those things, I was mystified as to what I'd done wrong. So I was constantly just looking at my own belly button going, okay, well, what did I do that made him do that? What is my if that then he did this? And so the reality of it is to have those thoughts of, I'm going to do all these things that is going to make my day go better. And then being woken up by a disgruntled teenager, is nothing to do with my walk with Jesus. Nor is it any of our walks with Jesus that we have to do if then he. And so even with Sophie as a perfect example, she, was kind of rude to me this morning and grumpy and those things, but
no,
she's still my daughter. Yeah. She's still my daughter. She didn't have to do anything for me to take her to school other than wake me up, but she didn't have to do anything to prove that I would do those things. And so in that relationship with God, where was the disconnect that if I do this, then he'll take care of me? It's just, if I said yes, then this is my walk. That's all there was to it. And it's such a huge relief, and I think so many women need to hear that. There's nothing you can do to change. We say it, nothing can separate us from the love of God. Nothing. Well, except, I overslept or I overate or I spent too much or I did this or this or this. I lost my temper. There is no, that doesn't change your daughterhood, and your motherhood does not negate your daughterhood.
That's right.
So, and which I think is paramount, because we, all of a sudden, if one of our kids is astray or lost their minds or any of those things, we take that on as part of our salvation. Our salvation is bought and paid for. We do our very best and we have to trust him, but our kids don't define us.
That's right. No one defines us, right? I mean, yeah. It's so hard. I was talking to someone the other day and she was like, I said, well, what do you do for fun? What do you like to do for fun? And she said, when was the last time I had fun? I haven't had fun because I feel guilty when I have fun. I mean, I think it's that concept of, I feel guilty when I do this. I feel guilty when I do that, instead of releasing it and letting it go and saying,
Mm-hmm.
okay, God, here we go. Let's just go. I'm going to mess this up. It's going to be a mess somewhere, but I'm going to just go with it. I'm going to live in it. I'm going to roll with it. And I'm just going to be. And there are no mistakes. There are only things that God can put together better than they were.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, and I mean, I think we hear that so much, and I that's paramount in A Stolen Jesus is, God must be trying to teach me something. Okay, my dad is a good dad, and I know not everybody has great dads. My dad's a great dad. When I was diagnosed with thyroid disease, I had several people, God's probably just trying to show you something. He's trying to show you something. Oh, no. And I went to my dad, and I needed to see a doctor that didn't take insurance, and I'm lamenting, how ill I am, and hair's falling out, and weight gain, and sick. I was sick. And he just was pained, and there was no thing that stood in the way of him helping me. Mm-hmm. And it's that mindset of, he wouldn't have done this to me. It can be used to bring glory, but he's not up there passing out cancer or brain tumors or, wrecking cars or killing children to show us something. No. It's so counter exactly who he said he was. He said he's a good father, and you can't be both good and wicked. And, no, cancer's not from Jesus. It's not from Jesus.
It is not from Jesus.
It's not from Jesus. Can he use it to bring glory? Can he use it? Yes. Does he create it? Nope. And as long as we're in the mindset that, he's trying to teach you something, or, that refining, we're not in a relationship with somebody that we want to be with. If I thought there was a risk that my dad was going to give me cancer, I don't think I'd want to go sit on the dock with him and have coffee. That would be scary to me,
Right. You're right.
If I thought it could help me, yeah, heck yeah, I want to sit there.
I want to sit there, and I want to be there. I want to be with you.
Yeah.
He is not up there handing us things.
Mm.
It's just a lesson. That is not God.
No, and it breaks my heart, because I thought that for so long, and now too, when I hear it, somebody messaged me on Facebook from a funeral, and they were, what do I do? What do I do? I'm at a funeral, and this pastor just said, 21-year-old boy that was killed in a motorcycle accident. God must have been showing him something. God must be showing his family something. The heartbreak and pain that instills in believers and non-believers that are like, what?
And a fear, I don't want to go sit on the dock with you. Why would I sit on the dock with you? You're going to take my 21-year-old.
Yeah, right? How can I make that? What can I do? What's the if I can do so that then that won't happen? It never pans out. And so how is that a walk or a relationship with a good, loving father if in the background, I've got a Marine baby. We just lost we had a foster placement for 18 months. She was with us, and there were ups and downs. We thought we were going to get to keep her and adopt her. I've never seen her again. I buckled her in her car seat, and she's gone. I grieve that. But if I believed for a minute that God did that to hurt me, right, or benefit any of those other things, it makes no sense whatsoever. So if you're doing those things, then, it doesn't add up. And then you're in a place where you don't trust or have any goodness. So, yeah.
Or you're constantly battling fear, and you don't know what to do with it. You've got this internal fear going on, and you're like, okay, part of the time I don't even know it's there, right?
I know. My mom just walked in. Can you hear all the noise? Sorry, she doesn't realize I'm recording.
Oh, that's okay. No worries.
So it's just better than the last time I did a Zoom meeting, and the minute we started, they started like the lawn. Like a leaf blower. I was like, we're yelling at each other. So sorry.
That's all right. Sometimes my dog will come in. Life happens.
Life happens. I can't pick it. So yeah.
So tell us about the free gift that you want to offer to the audience. And once again, you can find the link down below, but Jami, tell us about it.
Well, it's basically just that litmus test that I'm talking about. What are you doing? What's your if that makes you think then God does this? And it's, whether or not you have a counterfeit Christ that you've created or a Christ that you are truly in relationship with. And it's pretty easy little litmus test. You answer a few questions, and then you might just go, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right, So, I mean, it's very simple, actually. I kind of looked over it yesterday. I was thinking, it's very rudimentary. But the truth is, if we start putting us in front of him, or the way that we think in front of the way he operates and moves, it takes away from his glory.
Yeah.
I don't want to be God. I'm a horrible God.
But being in a relationship with him is simple. So I love that. Okay. So everyone, there is a link right down below this video, this recording. There's a link, and you can just hit on the link and you can get into Jami's mind and get on her blog and get all kinds of fun stuff from her and her walk, and just enjoy her sense of humor, her laughter, and her upbeat spirit on a more regular basis. So I want to encourage you to opt in and check it out. And just thank you, Jami, for the time spent, and thank you for speaking to all the people who are watching, and for your delightful spirit and your heart for God, and helping people understand that it's just a simple walk and God is good. It's so refreshing.
He's good. It's good. It was so nice to meet you, Lainey. I'm so glad you found me.
Yeah.